Welcome to the DSPN.
He's given him. Well, there you go. He was forward.
Oh, a punch up now in midfield. Fraser's involved.
The Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Righto, Sportos, here goes Martin, Devlin, Lachlan Waugh, the DSPN, talking all the day's big sports stories. Special guests on the show for you today. JP, Joseph Parker, fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world against Daniel Dubois in Saudi in February. Joseph joins us out of Samoa. Juan Soto, remember the name. Who's he? Well, he's just signed the richest contract in world sport. A contract bigger than LeBron, bigger than Mahomes, bigger than Shohei Ohtani. Brian Clark, Yankees out of New York, talking all about that. And a good sit down and natter about all the pressing issues bugging us right now, today in sport. Mark Watson and our man, Matt Gunn from Twice, always being positive. We're going to talk about where the Saudis should be in the team. What is the story with Conway? Why are the Black Caps so awful at the moment? And can rugby chase the football juggernaut? Can it regain the fan enthusiasm that football warriors, breakers have all captured here in Auckland over the last few months? As always, a small request, if you please, if you can like us, share, subscribe, follow, tell your friends about us, leave us a comment, all of that would be most grateful. We're trying to chase down 5,000 YouTube subscribers before the end of the year. We're on 2,000 at the moment. So if you can jump and hit subscribe. If you like what you're looking at, like what you're listening to, all of that, thank you so much. We begin the show same way every day, which is a sermon from the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
Big cricket question to consider after the first test in Christchurch. Why can't anyone bat these days? Now, look, taking nothing away at all from England's two victories, both thoroughly deserved, but 32 wickets in the 3 and a bit days in Christchurch and then 36 wickets in less than 3 days in Wellington says again that patient, diligent test match batting is becoming a lost art. And I'm not talking about the ability of any of the players involved to thrash a ball to the boundary. Look, the Wog and Slog is alive and well. Check out Blundell's garbage time ton as a perfect example of that. What's seriously lacking, though, is a general ability to bat time, to be judicious, to wait your time, pick the bad ball and dispatch it, not go for the home run hit off every single delivery just because you think you can. Brook, Root, Blundell, all were brilliant to watch. I'm taking nothing away from those guys. Outstanding batting, but not also without a hell of a lot of good fortune attached. All three more carefree than careful. T20 cricket, for all it's done for the sport, is also removing, for me, some of its best, most battling aspects. Holding out, holding up your end, blunting the ball for those who bat after you, tiring the bowlers by doing all three of those. Now, that basin wicket wasn't a 12 wickets in a day, every day kind of pitch. What it was a mostly inadequate display by most of the batsmen from both teams of any ability to concentrate and apply themselves for long periods of time. Where was the commitment to grind it out under trying circumstances? And look, I love the fact it's a faster game and you're almost guaranteed a result these days. But it shouldn't come at the expense of one of the more glorious aspects and skill sets Test cricket's forever had, which is being able to bat time. Now, I blame the internet. Of course I blame the internet. This 30-second attention span, dick pic, Instagram generation can't concentrate longer than a TikTok. Batting for a whole day is now unheard of these days. It makes front page news when it happens. Batting for 2 sessions in a row in a test match, well, that's a rarity unto itself. My point is that not everything new makes everything better. The T20 slog, look, it's undeniably changed the way players play their test cricket, and I'm not sure it's for the better. Being someone who can stay, play, leave, spend hours in the middle battling to preserve the wicket. Sadly, that is fast becoming the forgotten art of Test cricket.
Devlin.
The heavyweight championship of the world! Daniel Dubois, Joseph Parker, Saudi Arabia, next February. It is happening. And our man, JP Joseph, joins us from Samoa. Welcome back to the show, mate.
Oh, listen, great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
The news came last week. Terrific news for you. This has been something that you've been working so hard for. I know all boxing fans know you've waited a long time for this.
You know, Martin, when you're in the sport of boxing, the goal is to keep winning and to fight for the championship of the world. And I have done that. I've done it once before. Mm-hmm. I won it back in 2016 against Andy Ruiz in a tough fight. And now I have the opportunity to fight for this championship of the world again. And last year when I did sort of the comeback, and after the Joe Joyce loss, we made a plan. And we wanted to keep busy, and we sort of made a plan that we wanted to fight for the IBF World title. And then things happened in the way they happened, with Joshua losing to Dubois, me beating Zhang and Watto, and now we're in this great spot that we can fight for the title again.
When you lost to Joyce, how low a moment was that for you? And did you ever consider at that stage, oh God, maybe I've done it, maybe it's enough now?
No, you know, when I lost to Joyce, I shouldn't have taken that fight. I mean, I wasn't in my health wasn't the best. I was very sick leading into that fight, but mentally I wanted to go into that fight. And mentally as a fighter, you can beat everyone. It doesn't even matter what kind of shape or form you're in. After that fight, I thought to myself, this is not how it should be. I know that I'm better than this, and I know if I find the right team to help with my training and nutrition and guide me the right way, that I could show something different. But I never thought that I was going to give up after Joyce. I just thought I needed something different. I needed something else.
Did you give yourself a certain period of time or a number of fights? If you hadn't have beaten Wilder, was it ever a consideration if you hadn't have done that you would have thought, maybe it's not?
No, us fighters, I don't think it's ever a consideration that we're going to finish boxing. I mean, when the time comes, it's your time and you're done. But as a fighter, when you're actively training and you're locked into fights, you're never thinking, this is going to be my last one. I have put a time frame on it, like around 35 years old.
It's not long.
I feel like the next 3 years is my time to give everything to the sport. Then after that, I can walk away happy knowing that I did everything right leading into finishing from the sport. But for now, I'm young, I'm hungry, I'm fresh. I got the perfect training, the perfect nutrition, strength and conditioning training. I'm ready to go.
Joseph, when we saw you fight Wilder, it was such a brilliant fight, and then Big Bang Zhang as well. Look, you look like a different fighter, and I remember talking to you after the Zhang fight as well. What has Andy Lee done for you? Explain to everyone exactly the influence and also just the practical things that he's actually done for you.
Listen, I've always had Andy Lee, which is Andy looks after the boxing side of things, and Andy has always been great. The thing that I was missing was the strength conditioning, the nutrition, and the recovery. When George Lockhart came on board, who looks after all of that side, we all came in sync with each other. Right. Myself, George, and Andy, and now we all work together, and everything, like I said, is in sync. And when you have a team like that, I think we're unstoppable. But Andy's always been a great teacher and teaching me, everything is the basics. And sometimes as a fighter, you sort of forget the basics. So he had to just revamp that into me. And then George Lockhart looked after everything else, got my conditioning to a perfect, level where when I'm in the ring, I can think of what I'm doing. When I'm in the corner and in between rounds, I can breathe, I can think, everything is clear. And I think that comes down to the hard work that we put into camp and conditioning. And nutrition is a massive part to it as well. Very big part that I haven't had throughout my whole career.
Just tell us a little bit about that then. So how different is your diet these days when you're actually building up for a fight, like compared to what it used to be?
So compared to what it used to be is a massive comparison, because what I used to be before was not even close to what it is now. And for example, when I was fighting Zhang, I was 112 kgs. Now sitting here talking to you now, I'm 123 kgs.
Good Lord.
And the only difference with myself and Zhang at the time when we fought was the weight. Zhang was 133 kgs and I was 113, 112. So there was a massive gap in weight. And I thought I was going to have a rematch with Zhang. So George and myself and Andy came up with the plan that our endurance was better, our speed was better. The only thing that was different was the weight and the power. For example, for breakfast, George will make me 3 or 4 potatoes in the morning, 2 or 3 chicken thighs, black pudding, 5 eggs. Like that one sitting of breakfast would be like 1,200 to 1,500 calories of food. And because we put on all this muscle, muscles burn calories. And so I'm eating between 6,000 and 10,000 calories a day, depending on the training that we're doing the next day.
Wow, just thinking that breakfast, yum. After you fought Joshua, did you think that, that getting a chance to go for the heavyweight title is absolute dream. And most people maybe only get one chance at it. Did you think that maybe that was going to be your only chance, or did you genuinely believe, look, if I work this, I do this, I can come back and get another one?
I genuinely believed that if I did everything right, I know I had the chance to fight for the championship of the world. Andy Ruiz beat him, had the unification of Anthony Joshua. And at that time, I was still very young. I was still quite green, still learning the sport and learning the business of boxing. And then now sitting here today, I'm a lot more mature. There's different reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing, more for myself, my wife and kids. But I always believed that I could have the chance to fight for the championship of the world again. And when you believe in something fully, like there's no one can stop you. No matter what anyone says, they can't stop you, because if you believe fully that you can achieve it, you will.
You were so much faster. Your movement, your speed, your ring craft was so much better against Wilder and Zhang. Did you feel that? Did you actually notice that?
I noticed that my speed against Wilder and Zhang was a lot quicker, and because I expected Wilder to come forward and chase me down. So I was practicing and training for someone who's going to chase me down. When the fight started, Wilder went straight on his back foot, so I had to pressure him. With Zhang, we always knew that he had the big punch and he had great foundations, but he wasn't the fittest, and he didn't have the best endurance, and the speed wasn't up to mine as well. So I feel like speed plays a big part in my game.
Daniel Dubois, what does he bring? What do you have to be fearful or careful of?
Daniel Dubois throws big bombs, and he throws them, a lot of them. When you have someone like Deontay Wilder, he didn't throw too many punches. When you have Zhang, he sort of slowed down a bit. I need to up my game in terms of endurance and punch output to match what Dubois is going to bring. But when he throws punches, he throws them with bombs. Nearly every punch is a bomb. So I have to be very wary and careful, but also be aggressive in what I'm trying to achieve in the ring.
What's the fight plan? Is it to knock him out, or is it to keep him in that ring?
My plan is to go out there, right, and enjoy myself. It's quite hard to say enjoy yourself when someone's trying to punch you in the face, but I want to go out there and enjoy myself.
Yeah.
And what I mean by enjoy is that I want to have a structured approach. Like I want to go in there and really follow what we're going to be practicing in camp. And if I can do everything right leading into, the win will take care of itself if I can do everything right leading up to that.
Joseph, so as most of us are gearing up for Christmas and New Year and just thinking holidays and food and drink and everything else, so you're on a regime at the moment. How does your Christmas and New Year look?
Yeah, so I'm here in Samoa for 4 or 5 days. I thought it would be important to bring my wife and kids here to spend a bit of time, because when I leave at the end of this week to Ireland, I'm gone for Christmas, I'm gone for New Year's, I'm gone for my birthday, and I'll be training right through. Like when I leave this week to go to Ireland, it's camp life.
Yep.
And it's strict life. And this focused life on this fight. This is a massive opportunity. I don't want to mess it up. I want to give it everything I have to be able to get myself in the best condition.
Have you dreamed of this opportunity since the Joshua fight? Have you actually lain awake and thought, if I get this opportunity again, how am I going to do it? I have dreamed about it. Yes, I have. I thought, and I've dreamed listen, it's crazy as fighters. Sometimes you dream about fighting other fighters. That's just what we do. But I've dreamed about being 2-time world champion. Now I have the opportunity, so I'm going to take it with both hands, and I'm going to make the most of it, because this opportunity only comes. It doesn't even come a lot to a lot of fighters. No. There's a lot of fighters who want to fight for the championship of the world, and it doesn't even come. So I've been very blessed, and I've been in a great position to be given an opportunity for the second time. What kind of weight are you looking at? What's your optimum for the fight?
I feel like at the moment I'm 123, 124, but when fight time comes, I want to be shredded at around 116, 117. I want to be quick on my feet. I want to have still good endurance to match what Dubois is going to bring. I want to have the same speed. And, when you have all these things combined, your boxing IQ comes out, and they can really see it in the ring.
Couple more questions, we'll let you go, and I thank you so much for your time, man, especially when you're on holiday. You know that I care about you a lot, and you know that a lot of fight fans here in New Zealand, we care about you a lot, and if there's only one worry, it's that you've got to decide when you get out is the right time. You said 3 years. Is that enough? You get out of there with your health intact, you've got, 5 beautiful children, you've got a great life, you've set yourself up well, you've been smart about this, but you've got to be smart about that too, don't you?
You have to be very smart about when to exit boxing, because fighters, as us fighters, we always want to fight. No matter when, no matter what, no matter how, we always want to fight. So I have given myself 3 years, and I think that's the perfect time because I'm just coming into my prime. And if I, around 35 years old, if I can stop boxing and enjoy life with my family, but also listen, you never know, things can happen before then, leading up to 35 years old. So if there's too much punishment in a fight or a few fights, then I feel like I can make the right call at that time if it does happen to exit and to enjoy life.
You want to keep those handsome looks, bro.
You never know, it might come useful sometime. I don't know. We'll see.
Put one right here. A lot of people want to do this. God, give me one right there. Joseph, all the very best to you, mate. Train hard, and we really look forward to February in this massive fight against Dubois. Thank you, bro.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The Tight Five.
5 separate sporting topics. Lachlan, roughly 90 seconds on each. When the bell goes ding, on to the next topic we go. The Boks are coming to Eden Park in September. Is this the end of Fortress Eden Park? The English referee David Coote has been sacked by the Premier League after those comments about Jurgen Klopp are splashed all over the tabloids. Should Southey be playing in Hamilton? And the Devon Conway thing, conspiracy theories abounding around that. Sean Stevenson off to Japan. Those are the whispers all over social media. Juan Soto has signed the biggest contract in world sport. And is Harry Brook the best batsman in the world? Joe Root says he is. Let's talk about the Boks coming, though. 50 test matches, unbeaten at Eden Park for the All Blacks. Last time we lost was against France, 1994, at that ground. This for the unofficial World Championship of Test match rugby next year.
Yes. It's not the World Championship. It's just for probably who the best team in the world is.
Yeah, well, that'll do. Well,
but at the same time,
translate that.
No. But at the same time, it's in New Zealand.
We got 2 tests against them, but this is the one we've got to win. It had to be played at Eden Park. There's no other place for it, right? One of them had to be played there.
Yes. I think that all Blacks tested bar maybe one a year. So let's say you've got 5 or 6 in New Zealand. I think
here we go.
All but one should be at Eden Park.
Okay, righto. The rest of the country loves hearing that, don't they?
Well, sorry.
It's a money-making business, people. Put it where the crowd is.
What do Wales do? What do England do? Where do they play all of their tests?
Well, they have a national stadium. Is Eden Park a national stadium?
Make it a national stadium or build a national stadium on the waterfront.
Sorry,
that's not going to happen. But
you're talking about what? Building a new stadium in Auckland?
I know it's not going to happen.
And
because
not in
too
your
much
lifetime?
Paper. No. Not in yours, not in mine, not in my kids.
No.
By the time that they actually get around to maybe
make
building
a bloody
something,
decision about it, somebody. Anyway, the Boks are coming. Are you quaking? Are you shaking?
I'm not scared of this team the way that everyone... Well, okay, I personally would be because, geez, if I faced one of them on a rugby field, I'm being snapped in half, aren't I? But no, I don't think this team is as spectacular and great as people make them out to be. Yes, they've won 2 straight World Cups.
Oh, they've only won 2 straight World Cups.
But outside of those World Cups, they don't have the greatest test
outside of those
record.
World Cups, you don't care about rugby outside of those World Cups. Everything's geared towards the World Cup.
No.
All you care about is getting ready for the next World Cup.
I
care about winning now.
See, no, you're manufacturing an argument to try and beat me here, but you're getting the facts wrong. I've never said that. I don't say that. I want to win every test, including this one at Eden Park next year.
Sean Stevenson off to Japan.
Apparently.
If this is true.
There are rumblings.
If it's true. Oh, again, look, every time a player goes, I just say good luck to you. Congratulations.
Well, he's totally fallen out of favour. I don't think
he was never in favour with the All Blacks.
Well, he wasn't. In terms of how he was playing, he had played himself into favour, you would have thought, in 2023. Well, 2022, you could argue. But no, there's something obviously not right there.
Something not right there, is
and the All Blacks just don't want him in the team.
No one wants to talk about it. Nobody.
We don't need to know it. You know, maybe it's something personal between he and NZR.
Because on form, that guy should have played a lot more in the All Black jersey. No question.
Well, he should have last year. Now, this year, in 2024, he probably wasn't one of the 2 standouts when you talk about outside backs or 2 or 3 standouts in New Zealand, but in 2023 he certainly was. But played 1 test. He's going to be a 1-test All Black probably. I doubt that he'll come back and don that jersey in the future.
So it's not going to be like Lester Feynman.
But he's also someone who we don't need. We the thing about the not to be disrespectful at all to Sean Stevenson, but the All Blacks have long had an abundance of outside backs, and we do now. And we've got one coming back who can play centre, but who's mainly a winger, and Lester Whanganuku. So
wish you well. Speaking of cashing in, quickly, Juan Soto, biggest ever contract in world sport. This is incredible, isn't it? The numbers are just mind-blowing. The numbers are mind-blowing to me because, just quickly, New Zealand rugby annually turns over about a third of what this guy's just signed for. One player in baseball. One player.
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking about New Zealand at its biggest sporting body versus a sport that has been around since, the 1870s, the 1880s? Maybe the 1880s. Might be a
population
bit
of 300 and something million.
Well, yeah, but it's a country that's also been so incredibly well established, particularly with its sports
it
and the money around it for such a long time.
Small fry, aren't we? I mean, really. I mean, Silver Lake gave us a couple of $100 million. I mean, that guy spends that on a night out at the casino, doesn't he? What is it? Something like 765 million over 10 years. The English ref, David
15 years.
I'm really uncomfortable with this story. He's been sacked now by the Premier League. This is the guy that was filmed on a couch answering questions about Jurgen Klopp, and he made some disparaging comments and things like that. Well, it all looks a bit like a tabloid setup, and they do this a lot in England, and I mean, more fool him for answering those questions, I suppose, with the camera on him. But again, it's a private conversation that all of a sudden gets made public, and now this has cost him...
Don't say it.
This has cost him his career. Is
that
fair?
That's his fault. No, that's
fair.
his fault. That's absolutely his fault. Don't make those comments. If someone's recording you, unless it is one of your absolute closest friends...
Well, say it was one of his, or even say, I don't know anything about the guy, but say it was somebody like it was a friend or a closer friend or somebody that you sleep with or something like that, and they filmed it and you do...
But you sleep with what?
Well, I don't know. Say it is. Say it was. I don't know. But just say it's somebody that is that close to you and they're filmed.
Then you've clearly picked some bad friends, because if I put myself in that shoes and I think of my 2 or 3 closest friends and they're recording me, no way in hell do they put that footage out there and sell it off to the tabloids.
You can always fall out with people. You can fall out with people that you're in love with, and they can do spiteful things to you.
Good for them, whatever. That's their problem. I'm thinking about myself. If I was to put myself in that shoes, as I say, the 2 or 3 closest people that I have in my life, including family.
Do you think what he did was bad enough to lose his job as a referee? I don't think it was. So he gave Jurgen Klopp a bit of stick. So what?
Yeah, well, the problem... Okay, so the thing about a referee is you can't be biased, right? Mm. You've got to be totally impartial.
Sure.
And
he's not reffing a game, though, when he's doing...
No, but that there proves that he has bias against a coach, so what say he's got bias against other coaches? That's one issue with the whole thing. As well as that, he's used some pretty nasty words to describe Jurgen Klopp there.
Okay, well, I mean, I would say nastier words.
Flip it round. What would happen if Jurgen Klopp had used those words about a referee publicly like that?
He wouldn't get sacked from his job as a coach.
No, but he'd get suspended. He'd probably get suspended, wouldn't he? He'd get in trouble and he'd get fined.
Well, great, and he can pay the fine. This guy's lost his job and probably won't be able to ref again.
Well, don't make those comments. Yes, it is. Don't make those comments if you're being recorded. You're an idiot if you're doing that.
Is Harry Brook the greatest batsman in the world in Test cricket?
But can I just... Why do people use the word greatest?
Well, because
just out of curiosity. No, best. If you're the greatest, doesn't that imply that we're incorporating history in this as well?
I would say that's good. I mean, okay, let's just use the word best. Is he the best
Thank you.
right now? He's probably the best to watch, but I don't know if he's the best. I don't think technically he's the best.
Numbers-wise, it was Joe Root for the last year or so, wasn't it? Okay. And he's the top of the Test batting rankings.
So... Harry Brook is 25 years old. He's got 2,280 runs in his 23 tests.
His average is incredible.
Third highest in history,
61-62. Absurd.
And this is So out of all the batsmen to have played at least 20 innings, he's only behind Sir Don Bradman and Adam Voges, who's also another Australian. Anytime in anything to do with cricket that you get your name attached to any list that Don Bradman's on is pretty spectacular. But once he's played 50 tests, because that average, look, Steve Smith had an average way in the 60s to start with as well, and that's come right down, right? Kane Williams had an average way in the 50s, that's come down, okay? So give him...
Devin Conway.
Give him... exactly. Give him 50 tests.
Sure, but right now, he's not talking about Harry Brook's the best batter in the world in 2029. He's talking about right now, Joe Root, isn't he? And he's probably right. The numbers have been good. He was certainly the best in the last series. Since he debuted, his strike rate's been incredible. When it comes to England and this baseball approach, he is one of the 2 main guys who is pumping up the stats from a batting perspective. And talent-wise, he passes the eye test. I can't think of a reason to say he's not.
A couple of cricket things. All right. Does Southee... Well, I was going to ask, does he deserve his place in Hamilton? The answer is no. Does he keep his place in Hamilton?
Yes. Then do you think New Zealand cricket have the balls, for lack of a better word, to drop that man on his retirement tour?
And look, and these are the questions that should be being put to the coach and the captain at all of these press conferences. Is Wagner was treated terribly, right, for all the toil that he and the heart that he put into that team. Southee has been given a carpet ride as an exit package. His average, I think, over the last year is he gets a wicket every 60-something. 60-something runs for every wicket, right? That's not his overall average. I think it's about 28 or 29, which is pretty bloody good. But he takes 2 wickets a match at best. If it's not a hard red ball on a green top for the first couple of overs, he's not doing anything. I mean, this to me is a professional sports environment, but it's not being it is not treated, for want of a better term, or looked at, or the approach is not a professional way of dealing with it. He should be dropped.
Yeah, but
Simple
he won't
as.
be.
No, he won't be.
So there's no point talking about it. There's a bloke called Ben Sears who, now he's injured, so he's a bad example. I think he's had surgery recently, actually, Ben Sears. But he's someone, for example, that during the Australia series, in their second test, which we nearly stole, was brilliant.
Well, what about Gene Raval? He had a terrible time. No, he had a terrible time in Australia. He's been dropped, never seen again, right? Why doesn't he get another?
He was sacrificed in Australia,
Yeah,
wasn't he? We
well, he
knew
was.
he was out of form. We said, let's help him get back into form and put him opening against
If Tim
Australia.
Southee had any other name, he wouldn't be playing in Hamilton. It's a simple as
great.
that.
Now, to be fair to Tim Southee, being the devil's advocate, I love saying that, he has been a great servant for New Zealand
Sure.
cricket. Now,
Everyone acknowledges that.
I know he's out of form. This is a genuine question. I'm not the biggest cricket expert in the world. I'll put my hand up and say that. But outside of Ben Sears, who's injured, Will O'Rourke's playing, Matt Henry's playing, Nathan Smith's playing, what other pace bowler in New Zealand, genuine question, should be playing Test cricket ahead of Tim Southee right now?
Well, I think
as
that
a
they should
pace
be.
bowler.
They should know. We don't need another pace bowler. We need to actually rejig the attack and put some variation in it, because what we're doing is not working, is it? Playing 4 seamers is not working against them.
I do agree with that.
And just Devon Conway, just quickly, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories now and confusion about this. How come this wasn't known? That his wife's pregnant and he's for the birth of the child. Why wasn't this known? Normally this is flagged in advance, isn't it? I mean, this just the timing of it just seems a little weird to me.
Well, I read an article.
Like he's just about to be dropped, or he should be dropped. Then all of a sudden that conversation doesn't happen because now he's off having the baby.
Well,
congratulations, Tim and his wife. Beautiful, all of that. But it's just the bits just don't seem to add together here for me.
Yeah, I read an article this morning on the Herald that it wasn't flagged with the Black Caps, and it's something that typically is, so there's something a bit odd about it. I'm not going to jump to conclusions to say that this is a way to mask the dropping of Devon Conway as opposed to just publicly saying, no, you're not good enough, you're dropped. But it is a bit odd.
It's odd.
But that's all I'll say.
Yeah, it's just odd.
DSPN.
Juan Soto, remember the name. Look, if you don't know who Juan Soto is, just check out any sports website anywhere around the world at the moment. This man has made himself instantly globally famous because he's just signed the richest ever contract in world sport. The numbers are incredible. $765 million US over 15 years to sign for the Mets baseball team based in New York. That's about 1.5 billion New Zealand dollars, about 600 million euros. It equates to $10,000, get this, an hour, every hour of every day. It's 24/7 for 15 years. Brian Clark works for the Yankees broadcaster out in New York and joins us to get his head around this. Welcome back, mate.
Thanks for having me back. It's great to be back.
Well, first and foremost, is this a surprise that this guy has now gone to the top of the trees ahead of Mahomes, he's ahead of LeBron, he's ahead of Shohei?
No, it's not a surprise. We knew the number was going to be astronomical. The big suspense, the 2 big items of suspense here were where is he going to go and what was the final number going to be? I don't think we expected 765. We knew, we got some inklings over the weekend, the early part of the weekend, that the final offers were coming in north of 700 million. But just for Juan Soto to be with the Mets is a real seismic shift. So Soto came up, just a brief detour, with the Washington Nationals, based in Washington, D.C. A superstar from the beginning, debuted at 18 years old. Players don't do that in the major leagues. A star there. They realized their team, they won a World Series, but they traded him away to San Diego. San Diego, before this past season, traded him to New York, but to the Yankees. Now, you know the Yankees. They're the world famous New York Yankees, 27 World Championships. And Soto was stellar. He hit the home run that sent the Yankees to the World Series. But the Yankees knew they were only getting him for a guaranteed 1 year. Now, they tried very hard to convince him to stay, but the Mets had this new owner in Steve Cohen who is richer than all the other owners. He's not shy about spending his money. And now this is the biggest expenditure we've ever seen.
And just in terms of the fan base, I mean, look, it's not like he's flying over to the other coast or something. He's going down the road. I mean, what are people bitter and twisted about this?
They are, but it's for a couple of reasons. It's very similar, I think, in a lot of ways. You think about global soccer or football, Manchester United, Manchester City, and the Yankees are Manchester United, and now here are these upstarts in what Manchester City's done over the last few years. It's like the equivalent of think of David Beckham in his prime. Instead of going to Real Madrid when he left Manchester, if he had just gone up the road to Manchester City. It's a little different though, because he's not the homegrown player. He's not Aaron Judge doing that.
Right.
But these teams are inner city rivals, so there is that dislike, and there's also that aspect of the Mets have been around for about half the time as the Yankees, and they haven't had anywhere near the success the Yankees have had. So they've certainly been in the mix. Last year they had a great year, but they don't have that long-running pedigree the Yankees do, which is also why this is so seismic.
How do you recoup the money? I mean, this is $1 billion over 50. How do they get that money back? Is it jersey sales? Is it eyes going to watch this guy? How do you calculate that?
It's a bit of everything. It's jersey sales, it's ticket sales, and it's also the TV rights, the broadcast rights to televise these games. The industry shifting as more people switch to streaming, be it on Amazon or whatever the outlet's going to be. But the money is still coming in. So that's how these players' salaries keep going up and up and up. So there's a very good chance that 15 years from now, by the end of this contract, that this is going to be almost I don't know if you call this a bargain, but that it's not going to be as ridiculous as it sounds right now. Of course, you can think about how old we'll all be, God willing, in 15 years, and you drive yourself crazy. But the thought is that, he's going to bring the eyeballs. He's going to bring the fans in through the gates. He's going to bring the TV dollars in, and that it'll all work out for the Mets. But also, this is a guy, and Steve Cohen, the Mets owner, who, he's making money off the Mets, but he's made billions on Wall Street. So this is kind of it's like owning a racehorse with what he's done with the Mets, but he's spending a lot of money on his baseball team.
Is this guy a good guy? I mean, is he a genuine kind of person, Juan Soto?
He's a very good guy. He was very popular this year in the Yankees. He made an immediate impact. The first game, he made an incredible throw from right field to save a season-opening win in Houston. A really nice guy. Everybody knew what was in store for him in terms of the money when the season ended. But he's not a guy. I mean, he's a guy who knows how good he is, but he's not, a jerk or any kind of egomaniac. He is not shy about the fact he was not shy that he was all about business. So the Yankees had that heartbreaking loss in the World Series. And as soon as that game ends, he was, rightfully asked about his future. And he essentially, this is, only about an hour after their season had come to an end, he was basically saying he was open for business. And some of the Yankees fans didn't really like that. But I think all the players, they understand, this is a business, and he had a chance to set his family up for life, a few generations.
Yeah. Brian, just finally, just putting, again, trying to get the head around the numbers. Look, rugby's our biggest sport here in New Zealand. We have the All Blacks. The rugby union is the richest sport. It generates the most money. They were given a couple of $100 million US a couple of years ago by Silver Lake, and that was considered a massive injection. They've already spent it. It's already gone. But that's $200 million. This one player, 765. I mean, that's why we're just, it's difficult for us to kind of sort of look at those numbers and go, is it real?
Yeah, it absolutely, it's incredible. And going back to the beginning, I said how Soto started with Washington. There were, I think, 5 or 6 players on his first team, guys you might know like Bryce Harper, who I think have all signed contracts of more than $200 million. So I think all told, about 5 players that were on a team 6 years ago have now accounted for, I think, something over $2 billion in contracts. And one more thing to keep in mind with these contracts, they're all guaranteed. Every cent of this contract is guaranteed for Juan Soto. You hear about the NFL contracts. They're not guaranteed. You hear the big money, but it's rare that a player, gets every dime of that contract. Juan Soto will get every dime of the $765 million.
Let's talk sport.
This is the first chat show that we're going to do on the DSPN. I got Matt Gunn. Let's be positive from Twizel. Hello, mate. Welcome back.
Thanks, Martin. I'm happy to be here, and I just want to say if anything gets said on here that's cancel-worthy, I had nothing to do with it. It's probably been you or Watto.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, that guy over there is the reason that we probably will. Mark Watson in studio with us.
Oh, I'd love to get cancelled. I've already been cancelled once.
You've been cancelled more than once.
I haven't changed though, Martin. I haven't learnt my lesson, Martin. I believe I'm a niche.
We have topics to talk about, and the first one is cricket, and that was embarrassing, that pantsing in Wellington. I've watched this team for 50 years. That is as awful as the 45 we got in South Africa. To lose inside 3 days on a green top with 4 seamers when we chose to bowl. There's no excuses for this. And yet, once again, it seems to get kind of just gently put aside, doesn't it? Devin Conway's having a baby. Congratulations to him. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about the fact he should have been dropped, mate. Tim Southee's on a farewell tour. But shouldn't we be talking about him being dropped? It's like the Warriors season. 9 wins and 1 draw, and the narratives around Sean Johnson's retirement and opening a bar. Why in New Zealand sport now aren't we allowed to stick it to these losers when they play like losers?
Well, I completely agree. There's only one currency, Martin, when it comes to elite level sport, and that is winning and losing. All of our Olympic athletes, their entire funding, their entire sports are based on medals they potentially bring or don't bring in. But you mentioned they're being bowled out in South Africa, I think it was 46, 47.
Something like that.
But off the back of that, Brendan McCullum went away and he took a long, hard look at himself. He took a long, hard look at his team and said, we are a bunch of prima donnas, we need to change it. And that was the turning point for New Zealand cricket under McCullum. That's when I think Brendan McCullum moved from being a professional athlete to possibly being an elite athlete where, professionalism was very much then a complete state of mind. The problem with these clowns at the moment is we're not going to learn anything from this. We're going to sit back and we're just going to continue to use, but we won a series in India.
Ourselves over the Indian thing,
that's going to be the default.
Move on from India.
What do you mean move on from India? It was historic.
Move on from India. It was an anomaly. It was a blip on the radar. It was like a UFO. No one can confirm if it even happened. And here you come back here with a new captain. Southee was dropped as captain or stood aside. I thought so you could fire him.
Yeah, well, that was the point. That was the whole point.
He was selecting himself.
He should have been, mate.
He gets sacked as captain. He's still playing. The last 10 tests, 15 wickets at 66.
I know. It's a shame. It's shameful.
Hey, isn't he supposed to be positive?
What?
I am being positive. He was given the room to move on and he didn't. The point being is now it's his final test and we can't drop him for this.
How does it sound?
This is so sad. I read this morning.
Oh, look, and that's the thing. We'll win this test and then it'll be, I told you so, I told you so.
But look, this is the problem, isn't it? I mean, this is a club. This is not a New Zealand team. Oh, we might bring a spinner, an automatic default setting, Mitch Santner. We're like, have you seen Mitch Santner's stats prior to the Indian series? This man is terrible. This man is not a test bowler. Yet here we go, Ajaz Patel sitting there. Every time he's played for New Zealand, he's performed. Give this guy an opportunity. Give this guy a chance. I know we won't pick him. The Tim Southee thing, I keep going back to it. Look at Jimmy Anderson. Brendan McCullum, this is a guy who's taken 700 test wickets. Yeah, McCullum said, I'm giving you 1 test. That's your farewell test. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. Tim Southee, his legacy is greater than the results. Tim Southee is bigger than the game. I mean, this is the problem. There is just zero accountability from these guys. There is absolutely zero jeopardy here. All of these guys are millionaires. All of these guys are making a lot of money. And it's like anything. To test the passion and desire of anybody, you need to have adversity. Where's the adversity around these guys?
Look, there's no adversity, man. And okay, let's turn it to Australian cricket, where you don't get into that team until you're 29 or 30 for a start. And if you don't perform, you do get axed from that side. I mean, you're looking at it. Give us an Australian perspective on the New Zealand team where it's at right now, because and let's take in the totality of this year, Matt. The T20 World Cup, we were an embarrassment. We arrived late. We were on holiday. We couldn't be arsed having a practice match. Sri Lanka. I mean, you take, if that Indian test hadn't happened, you go the T20 World Cup, Sri Lanka, and now getting pantsed by England. Is that where the Black Caps are actually at?
Yeah, well, that's exactly where they're at. And before the blip on the radar in India, what did we say? We said they were hopeless. We said that they'd been a bit of a joke. That T20 World Cup was amazing because they didn't need a practice. They got flogged. Yeah. They went home early. Next thing you know, we're all bagging them. We're actually discussing how bad they are. And then they go to India and pull off the most miraculous away series win you've ever seen in your life. And then the previous goes away.
Yeah.
Then we come home, and here we are against England.
Yeah.
You got a bloke averaging 66. He couldn't get a run for a club side in Twizel with those figures. He'd be sitting running the drinks. All right? You can't have a strike bowler giving up 66 every time he gets a wicket. And the 15, I think, came in runs of 3 and 4. So he's gone a number of tests with no wickets at all. He should go.
Yeah,
the point is if you're not up to scratch, you got to go. The respect of what you've built over your career is something that you won't lose. But being dropped at the end of it because you can't see the writing on the wall yourself and want to walk away is something that has to happen. People want to continue to box. They want to continue to play rugby league. They want more money. They want more fame. But at the end of the day, if you're getting pantsed, it's time to go. And if you can't make the call yourself, Gary Stead's turn to make. The captain's turn to make.
Gary's not going. I mean, Gary's not going to make. No, he's not going to make it. Let's move on to topic number 2.
I just want to say something quickly on that cricket, because one thing we have seen is zero application. This ability these days to occupy the crowd.
No one wants to, mate.
Even as an opener, you go back to Edgar. Edgar might have only scored 22, 23 runs, but he'd be there for 2 hours seeing the new ball.
It's the dick pic generation, mate. They don't have the patience, mate.
Go back to 1992.
Well, that's what you're talking about. No one remembers 92, mate.
Mark Greatbatch.
When was 92?
When was 92? This generation doesn't care about. You're an old man.
But I want to remind
2020.
I want to remind the
50
generation.
overs, 20 overs. We'll do another little thing.
We'll do 10 overs, mate. We'll do an over each. That's the attention span these days.
10 over match.
Well,
10 over match. Let's get in, get out.
Well, with the way you're interrupting me and the lack of listening, you're clearly part of this generation with your attention span there, Martin, Devlin and Matt Gunn.
Springboks versus All Blacks is at Eden Park. Are you going to buy a ticket for $300?
No.
Why not?
It's not worth it. It cost me another $200 just for the food.
But, Matt, this is a 50-match, 31-year record that is going to be put on the table, and the Springboks are coming to take it. This is brilliant. I mean, it had to be played there, didn't it? There's no other place for that match to be played out of the two tests. One of them had to be played.
I think, though, to be honest, I think the Springboks bubble will burst. I think they're a very old side. I think their time is coming.
Mate, they've got 2 teams, Mark. They've got 30-something players. They play a different side every week.
I think they're on the decline. I think we're
what?
Not great.
And what proof do you have of that?
Well, I think we got very close to them in South Africa with a very average ordinary side.
So here is Mark Watson, who measures himself.
Close.
Here we got close. That was
South
almost.
Africa,
we just about beat them.
A very
You've
good
turned
team.
into
let's turn on Mark Watson. Let's turn on Mark Watson right now.
No,
what
we're
I'm
not
saying
turning
is,
on you at all.
no, you are turning on
Listen.
me. You are turning on me.
You're an
You're
elite
too tight
athlete,
to pay
mate.
$300 for one of the greatest games you might see in the next 20 years. Martin's trying to build up the game. $300, honestly, it's a lot to go to the football.
Is.
But
It's ridiculous. It's arrogance. It's just complete and utter arrogance.
Sold out.
It'll be sold out, yeah.
Yeah, but not to the
All
rugby
of
fan,
Albany
though.
will be there.
Yes,
And then
the whole of the
any
North Shore
Zealanders that can get a ticket will be there as well. Look, I think that when we talk about elite level sport and we look around the world at what people pay for courtside NBA tickets or Super Bowl tickets or, tickets to college games even or whatever else, we're pretty well served here. And often we think that the minimum charge is the way to get the maximum outcome. And in many ways, I agree with that. For an NPC or for a Super Rugby game, $15 or $20, you're in, you're out, you're gone. But an occasion like this, I don't think $300 is too bad. And what you say, Watto, is right. You're in for $500, $600, maybe $700 by the time you go and you
But this
go
is
and have a couple of
premium
drinks
sport.
and
This is
maybe some
A-League
food.
level sport. There's the two best
It's
teams in the world
as
playing in a
big as it
match of
gets.
massive consequence.
Yeah,
mate.
but look, I would agree with you, and I say this every week. It must sound like a broken record. If club rugby wasn't ruined, if NPC still was vibrant and people cared about it, and if Super Rugby was the competition that it once was, and we had all this other rugby, but New Zealand rugby have shifted everything to the All Blacks.
Yes.
So they've taken rugby away from us. So they've basically said, we're no longer rugby fans, guys, we're All Black fans. Now what they're doing is saying you don't even have access to the All Blacks unless you're at the elite level, unless you've got $300 to fork out. So what do I actually have left as a rugby fan? I can't access my top team. I don't understand Super Rugby because the marquee players are replaced and rotated. NPC's got zero tribalism, and now you're wanting to charge me $300. And then meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, no, you've got Auckland FC charging reasonable prices to take you and two kids. You've got the Breakers. You've got the Warriors doing a similar thing. And then they want to go and charge me $300 to watch my All Blacks team.
So this segues nicely into our final topic, which is how does rugby recapture that fairness and that enjoyment?
It's done.
I'm not giving up on it yet. I was at the Derby on the weekend with the Phoenix, and that is as good a sports crowd as you get anywhere. Look, it was like the Basin Reserve when it used to, when the guy from the TV used to wander in front of the bank at the Basin Reserve. He lasted less than a minute, didn't he? He got absolutely shaved. Those were the rowdy days, the raucous days. And to me, it's as good as the Warriors on that playoff match against Newcastle a couple of years ago. It was rocking. It was jumping. Adults were behaving like pork chops. For 90 minutes, you can go on there, sing, dance, yahoo, and play. So how does rugby recapture that? Because when you mention rivalries, when I grew up, and this is when you came to New Zealand as well, rugby had them. Auckland Waikato, Auckland Wellington, Auckland Canterbury, Wellington Waikato, Wellington Auckland. You had Manawatu Taranaki. You had Southland Otago. You had genuine, real rivalries with hate, mate. You did.
You're going back to 1992. Today's generation don't get it, Martin.
Yeah, but how do they recapture this? How does rugby recapture this, mate?
I came here in 1998. Rugby had everything you're talking about. It had the man in the street. It had the family at home. Everyone was into it. People wanted to be at games. It was a big ticket item. And then the Super Rugby games, I used to travel from Timaru to Christchurch to watch the Crusaders. Then I moved to Dunedin. 2000, I'm in Dunedin, and the rugby clubs at the time start talking about the lack
of Zoom quality in New Zealand. I think that's what they were talking about.
You want to turn around the fan experience.
Yes.
You're going back 25 years.
Well, they've got to do something.
That's when it started to collapse and fall. NPC now is a disgrace. They haven't paid it even lip service.
No, they haven't.
Yeah, but you cannot have fandom. You cannot build tribalism unless you've got your best players playing every week. So they know who the best players are. They're not accessible. The best thing I saw this year in the NPC was Auckland when they took the game against Bay of Plenty to Auckland Grammar School.
Great idea.
And I think what NPC needs to do is saying, right, if you're Auckland, every week we're going to play at a different high school. One week we're going to play at Mount Albert Grammar. But look, and charge nothing.
And I love your passion about supporting the fan, Watto, because I think what you're saying is right. If the rest of rugby has sort of been dwindled away, and then it's going to cost you $300, $500, take two kids, $1,200 or $1,300 to go to the rugby. What you're saying might be exactly right. If you want the fans back, more than just an individual game, which they'll probably sell out, you do need to treat them a bit better. I do agree. Yeah. It's expensive to even watch it on TV.
But look, this is where rugby is so far up its own bum in this country, mate, because it won't accept the fact that it has fallen behind these other sports. And these other sports are now a ticket in town that rugby can't compete with. The Blues are not going to get a crowd like that at Eden Park unless it's a final for Super Rugby. We know that. But what your idea is to actually take it back to the people. Free charge. Come in and put the food trucks outside. Get the slide. Well, you don't have to gear it up like it is at what Auckland FC are doing, but actually make it something that on a Saturday, this is the other key, an afternoon. Make it afternoon or early evening, because that 5 o'clock kickoff is the reason that they sell out that stadium. It's half the reason, I'm sure.
Well, I tell you what, this is going to sound strange, but every year they have the Auckland 1A secondary schools final. They have it as a curtain raiser to an Auckland game. 10,000 people will turn up, the combination of both schools. Once the Super Rugby, once the schools final's over, everybody leaves.
Yeah, they leave.
So why don't you actually make the NPC, and this is going to sound strange, the curtain raiser to the first 15 final?
Why not?
But also allow it free, take it to the schools, and then you have all your signage up, and your return on investment is actually saying, hang on a minute, we had 10,000 people turn up today that wouldn't normally turn up, that we've now connected with your brand. That then gives you something to go back and sell your potential sponsors.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, the problem is that it's going to end up at well-off schools. It's not going to end up at poor schools, is it? So if you can incorporate all these other low decile areas that don't have facilities to hold a match like that, if you can get them involved, I would 100% back that kind of idea. What I wouldn't back is taking what has at some stages probably been seen as an elite sport to elite schools. The last thing elite schools need is more elite sport in front of them.
No, but
so
look,
if we could mix it up and get other young kids involved, I totally agree. And I'll tell you what I think's been great this year is that TVNZ have been able to do deals with both the Breakers and New Zealand Cricket. It's on their free to air.
Yeah, it's free to air.
Why
It makes a
can't the
huge
Rugby
difference.
Union just deliver some of those games, not delayed, not like you're a second-rate citizen because you can't afford to pay for it live. Deliver some of this stuff and then get people involved at that grassroots level again. Because without that, you're never going to build what you're seeing with
Time
these
is
other,
up,
with
gentlemen.
these other
Before
sports.
we go, I thank you
What do you
both
mean
very much.
time is
Up, but what are we going
For Tim Southee, time is up.
Well, this is it. We're going to go out. How many wickets does Southee take in his last test? Because he will be picked to play.
2.
Matt?
I think he gets a wicket if he's lucky. England, they want to see him bowl.
Well, we have them at 40 for 4, and what do? We bring Tim Southee on. Hey, get your eye in, guys. Go and just form a partnership so you're 220 for 4. Let's bring Southee on.
70 New Zealand cricket. He's been a great 70. Deserves a farewell.
Oh, let's sing Kumbaya, my lord, and hold hands, Martin.
Yeah, goodbye, Tim.
That's our podcast and show for today. Again, if you're liking what you're listening and what you're seeing, then a small favour, if you will. Can you please hit like, share, subscribe, follow, tell a friend about it. We are a fledgling podcast and show, the DSPN, and we need you. And if you are participating, well, just click that subscribe button. That would help enormously. Thank you so much if you already have. Again, tell a friend if you like. We're doing this every single day, putting out a show every afternoon. The DSPN.
This is the DSPN.